All right, we're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. All right, so we're gonna pick up kind of where we left off at. Let's start right around here. Okay.
That has a very
All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to play audio of videos of tethers, coons, and white supremacists all using the same bad faith argument to undermine and disrespect FBAs. Okay, so I'm going to show one with Tariq Nasheed and Andrew Schulz. Andrew Schulz tried it. Myself debating a black conservative, and a debate with Tariq Nasheed and Jared Teller. So Jared Teller also used it. This is one of the weakest talking points. You can't even win a debate using this because it's so bad faith. It's a terrible argument. It's disingenuous and it's false. It's misleading. And people only do it. Those folks only do it to try to prove that FBA specifically Adolf
one kid back
are
Adolf, the kid goes,
hey. So FBAs and Adolf specifically are just degenerates, I guess you can say. And it's like the way they use it's like it's genetic. Yeah, it's genetically done. It's passed down, and it's in our traits. All right. So first, I'm going to go to Andrew Schulz and Tariq Nasheed.
high tax bracket. I bet that public school in that area would have all the spoils of a wealthy white school strictly because it's based on a tax bracket, not because it's based on the
So
race.
why are there not more wealthy black neighborhoods with the same tax bracket as white neighborhoods?
So, I mean, clearly there's more wealth. Actually, I can't even say that if there's more wealth. I mean, on a whole, there's more poor white.
Okay, so he was okay. Now you just heard that he said, on a whole, there's more poor whites. Now I'm gonna tackle this a little later. Matter of fact, I'm gonna come back to this.
White neighborhood.
So why of a wealthy white school neighborhood, it could make something a race issue when it's actually a taxation issue. If we take,
I'm gonna come back here because this is a big point. I'm gonna come. I'll revisit that when I have more folks join in. So I'm just gonna pick up where we left off before I logged off, and then when we get more folks in, I'm gonna tackle those bad faith talking points from black conservatives that are coons. You got tethers, and you got white supremacists. And what's worse than all of them is a tether conservative.
Supremacy. There's no better white supremacy. It's just white supremacy.
So
Y'all haven't killed each other yet?
No.
Good conversation.
We're talking about
great.
Good dialogue.
No, absolutely great. And I'm so happy you came. Welcome, Charlemagne. My point is that clearly white supremacy was more intact when black people weren't humans, when they were considered livestock.
Or the 2/3?
Than when a black person, well, even before there was two-thirds was progress.
Yeah.
They got to 2/3 just so they could get votes.
So you're trying to say that there's racial progress?
In America?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go from owning livestock, humans as livestock, to having a black president. I think that's racial progress.
There's no such thing. That's like progressive.
It is racial progress.
Of course,
that's
it's
like
racial
progressive
progress.
rape. If you rape somebody, do you have progressive?
Okay, we can't do that on YouTube. This is 8 years ago, so I can't do that. So so Tariq did that, and Andrew Schulz went way worse. He started talking about LGBTQIA plus type of grape, and it was just
No. Now food and being whipped every single day, and
where they can shoot.
Which is better? Shed eating millions of dollars over the country doing radio,
and you can't do anything about it.
Would you rather live in a time where you can sell books, you can sell movies, you can travel the country doing radio, you can make, I assume, I don't know if you're a millionaire, made millions of dollars?
Yeah.
Or would you rather be living in a shed eating horrible food and being whipped every single day and being chained? Which is better for you? Which would you rather?
Well, the thing is, I
That's
still live in a system where they can shoot me and get away with it. Right now,
would you rather?
2017.
Just answer the question.
Right now, I'm telling you now, it's no difference. It's no difference.
There's no
difference. I can be killed now. They can be killed.
Okay, so this is I would tackle this a little different. But again, I'm doing hindsight, right? I wasn't in the moment, but I don't want to choose I don't want to choose my death between a gun, a knife, a bat, or a rope. Okay. So it's just a racist, bad faith argument to say, how would you rather die? How would you rather get murdered? Would you rather a bat, a noose, a knife, or a gun? That's the equivalent is what Andrew is asking Tariq Nasheed.
Well, then I can be killed now.
I can be killed now. Anybody can be killed.
Listen, you're not going to get killed with
Can be
impunity.
shot by cops in the car.
No, well, they went right to jail, so that's going to deter anybody from doing that shit.
From being killed.
But the thing is, you have people out here who are allowed and being rewarded to kill black people out here. They're not rewarded to kill you.
I can't believe you think that you live the exact same life.
No,
as
we've made a lot.
Nothing has changed.
We can do better, but we have made so much racial progress in America.
People lose respect for your arguments.
I mean,
People lose respect for your arguments if you don't have intellectual consistency.
Let's talk the truth.
This is not intellectually consistent.
It's very consistent.
No, it's
How
not.
have we
You know
changed?
damn well
We
you'd
just
rather
have
the
tech-
Asian
we
dick.
just-
talk shows. Go ahead, Tariq.
We just have technology, but the technology is basically
You have freedom.
really enforced more white supremacy.
You have freedom.
No,
You can
don't.
vote.
Don't scream,
You can
okay?
choose your destiny of your life. You
Vote
can
for
choose
who?
to. You can
Okay,
choose
give
to
me.
leave
Vote for
America.
who?
Vote for Barack Obama.
And Barack Obama is controlled by the white supremacists.
And I remember you said
We're
that.
still under the thumb of white supremacy. It's like a prison, brother.
I think
It's
you
like
need
a
to do
prison.
some
You
more
say you can do
research.
stuff in the prison.
I think you need
I don't
more
want to be in the
research
prison. We need to get rid of the prison.
What Barack Obama has done specifically.
No,
for black
Barack,
people.
we know that Barack Obama, he wasn't allowed to do anything, and if he did something, they would have blew him up in the White House and the whole nine.
But Barack
he wasn't
Obama
allowed
did
to
a
do
lot.
anything, not for black people. No,
He
he
absolutely did.
No,
I mean,
he
I can go
didn't.
through a
Okay,
list
here
of
we
it because
go.
I looked at it last night. Obviously, he
Okay,
had two
here we
black
go.
attorney generals.
That means nothing. They were powerless tokens too, who couldn't punish none of these race soldiers killing black people. They were powerless tokens.
The Jobs Act.
That's that token thing.
Everything's a
When you-
token
When you
if
get
you
up, when you
disagree
get
with it, I guess.
there's two
You have
black
to come
people.
up with
There's two
arguments.
black people
You have
there.
no
So
arguments.
that's
No, this is a good
progress.
conversation. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I
stop
think
yelling,
you
stop
need to think
yelling.
about an argument.
Don't
Okay, so
yell.
the Jobs Act, it made money available for minority-owned business owners.
What's a minority?
Anything
Schulz.
that's not white supremacy.
That bullshit.
Okay, so now he's just trolling. And this is what I'm trying to say. It has to be some type of level of integrity. But I mean, you are debating a comedian by profession. So, he's going to troll. I think Tariq actually knows that. And that's probably why I went this way. But I don't want to debate a comedian. But I will if it's going to bring about awareness to my lineage. But that's just a bad faith argument. He said the word minority and he tried to plaster it. Andrew Schulz tried to plaster the word minority exclusively just on foundational Black Americans. And Tariq Nasheed caught him. He caught him slipping. He said, wait, what's a minority? And then he tried to be slick, everything but white supremacist. That was actually close. A minority is anyone besides a white heterosexual male. So that was kind of close, even though he was trolling and he was disingenuous. That was actually close. And there's a lot of white heterosexual white supremacists or racists. So Andrew, you weren't too far off with your troll. It almost hit.
Except Nigerians because they're white supremacy to you.
Most minorities are white.
Nigerians are white.
Most minorities are white. See, watch these trick words. Most minorities are white.
In terms of, you're saying women are a minority? Is that what you're trying
White
to say?
women.
Okay, I mean that's just true because a lot of Hispanics are labeled white, so that cuts the Hispanic population in half or significantly, and then you got white people who make up the bulk of America, and you got some other foreigners who's classified as white. So that's not entirely wrong.
Right.
Hispanics who are classified as white.
Well, it depends what type of
Gay
Hispanic.
white men, they're classified as minorities.
Not all Hispanics are white.
It doesn't matter. Any portion of them will add to the white majorities. Stupid. Doesn't matter because the point is most minorities are white, and a lot of minorities are white. And on water. Yeah, most minorities are white, and most people in America are white, and a lot of them are minorities. The only ones that are excluded are just straight white heterosexuals. And then if any population of Hispanics to add to it, yes, that's going to increase the number. So it wouldn't matter if it's not all Hispanics.
Okay.
I know over here about 80% of them are white.
Okay, so he
Over
cut
here they are.
black unemployment in half. It went from 18.6% to 8.3%. That is specifically something that he did for Black people. The ready for work part.
Okay, now don't fall for that lie. Because see, look, they can't get it both ways. When we ask what has Barack Obama done for Black people, they will say, well, he's not the Black Foundation of Black American president. They will say he's the president of all Americans. You see how they pick and choose how they want to word things? This is a bad faith argument, and it's from disingenuous people with no integrity. And we catch them on my show. We catch them. He is not the Foundation of Black American president. So if he decreased unemployment rates, that was for all races abroad. It wasn't just for Foundation Black Americans. Matter of fact, nothing Obama did was specifically and only for exclusively just for Foundation Black Americans. Whatever improvements he did for the American public, all Americans benefited. If there was any positive, so if we benefited, so did all other Americans, and most likely they benefited more.
Partnership, $170 million for back to long-term work programs that disproportionately help Black people. So 25% of the Black recipients were Black, 12% of the population. They were reflected double the recipients of this specific program for Black people.
What was the name of that program?
The Ready for Work Partnership. And what it did is it prepared people for long-term work ethics. So it's not like I'm going to get you a job and then you're going to be out of this work in 2 years, but it not only prepared people for the jobs, but it trained them for the jobs and connected them with the jobs that they can.
I haven't heard of that program, and most Black people haven't heard of that program. So I don't think that
25% of the people in the program for Black.
Small business. I don't know nobody. I don't know one Black person who has heard of that program.
Listen, you also didn't know.
How many people did it affect?
How many people did it help?
So now we go with how many people did it affect? No. Andrew Schulz pitched the program like it benefited Black folks exclusively, because his point is Obama did something for Black people exclusively. He did something for Black people exclusively, and Black folks benefited. No, brother, what he did, that so-called benefited Black Americans, Foundation Black Americans, trust me, that benefited all Americans. All right, especially those who are classified as minorities. It's not going to work, Andrew. Not under my watch.
Because they say this stuff like 25% of the unemployed. See, they work these little numbers.
Yeah, how many
and
Black
it don't
people
really
did it affect?
affect
I
a
didn't
large
get
number.
the statistic of how many people. All I can tell you is the 170 million Black people got 25% of that. The small business.
I got to verify that because that sounds real funny style.
Please do. Small Business Association loans. The fee for those loans went to zero. They targeted Blacks by partnering with the U.S. Black Chambers.
Targeting Blacks. Watch these terms. Are you saying they targeting Blacks? Those are not specifically for Black people.
I'm going to tell you how they targeted Black. So they partnered with the U.S. Black Chambers and the 100 Black Men of America to make sure that these loans were targeted to Blacks. Did
they get them though? Did they get them? Exactly.
You know what? I'm gonna fact check that. Hold on.
Did they get
100% of that? The small business.
I got to verify that. How many people did it help? Because they say this stuff like 25% of the unemployed. See, they work these little numbers.
Yeah, how many
and
Black
it don't
people did
really
it affect?
affect
I
a
didn't
large
get
number.
the statistic of how many people. All I can tell you is the 170 million Black people got 25% of that. The small business.
I got to verify that because that sounds real funny style.
Please do.
Which one was it? Let me go back.
10% of the Black recipient people. The Ready for Work Partnership, $170 million.
Ready for Work Partnership. All right. If he's right, he's right. But I'm not letting nothing slide today. Ready for Partner. No, go. You wait. You get more later. Go. Ready Partnership. Let me see.
Something that he did for Black people. The Ready for Work Partnership, $170 million for back.
Okay, $170 million. We're going to fact check this. All right. One more time.
He did for Black people. The Ready for Work Partnership, $170
The Ready for Work Partnership. The Ready, make sure I got it spelled. Yep. The Ready for Work, I didn't have work Partnership. All right, let's see what he's saying.
Specifically something that he did for Black people. The Ready for Work Partnership, $170 million for back to long-term work programs that
back to work long back to long work. Again, they laid our ass off and hired some white folks after a year. But we're gonna find out today, though.
For Work Partnership, $170 million for back to long-term work programs that disproportionately help black people. So 25% of the black recipients were black, 12%.
Okay, so 25% was black. Okay, look at this bottom of this. Okay, only 12% went where, Andrew?
Of the population, they were reflected double the recipients of this specific program. 12% of the population, they were so 25% were back to long-term work programs that disproportionately help black people. So 25% of the black recipients were black. 12% of the population, they were reflected double the recipients of this specific program for black people.
Well,
So
what's the name?
Cool. Okay, so I got it. Okay. All right, so we're ready. You're back. Okay, cool. All right, we're ready. So let them continue.
Name of that program?
The Ready for Work Partnership. And what it did is it prepared people for long-term work ethics. So it's not like I'm going to get you a job and then you're going to be out of this work in 2 years. But it not only prepared people for the jobs, but it trained them for the jobs and connected them with the jobs that they can
I haven't heard of that program, and most black people haven't heard of that program. So I don't think that
25% of the people in the program are black.
I don't know one black person who has heard of that program.
You also didn't know
how many people did it affect?
How many people did it help? Because they say this stuff like 25% of the unemployed. See, they work these little numbers.
Yeah, how many
and
black
it don't
people did
really
it affect?
affect
I
a
didn't
large
get the
number.
statistic of how many people. All I can tell you is the 170 million
Stop it.
black people got 25% of that.
Stop it.
Hey, stop, no sailing. Okay, yeah, she's just playing. All right, so let's fact check that. I think we're ready. All right, and I'm gonna circle back and tackle something else. Peace, Pinky, 420. We're here. We're here. I'm holding the best for last. Trying to get more folks to tune in before I drop a mega bombshell on a lot of white supremacists, also tethered, also black conservative coon talking points. Okay, we're gonna drop a bombshell on their talking points. After we tackle this first, I'm gonna wait to get more folks in here, and I will make a short cut of that because it's a big bomb that we all should use because they will use these things against you. These are talking points from these folks that they will use. White supremacists, tethers, and black conservatives. They use the same talking points. They come from white races, obviously. All right. So let's look at it. Is it done? Yes, sir. Yeah. So it's not just done now. So a lot of times what they do is they say, okay. Oh yeah, let them run. Okay. So a lot of times these folks, these anti-FBA folks. No, leave it. Let it go. Okay. So a lot of these anti-FBAs, they like to mix truth with falsehood. I'm telling you, and they're real good at it because if you try to debunk it, it'll come off as true, where it's not false, but there's context behind it. And these guys, their think tanks literally mix up these stats and these facts and stats. They read the stats and mix up the facts and stats.
Okay, God.
Okay? Because you even heard the black conservative that I spoke to earlier talk about 50% blacks are 13% of the population, but we commit 50% of the murders. You'll hear all of them mention this talking point, and they're all lying. We don't make up a 50% murders in the country. We make up 50% murder arrests in the country. So we're being arrested for murder at 50%. Well, we make up 50% of murder arrests in the country. We're not charged with murder. We're not convicted of murder. We're just arrested for murder. right? So if law officials, if legislators go an attempt to just want to arrest us for murder, whether we're guilty or not,
Fine.
what does that mean? You guys watch First 48 all the time. How many times they arrest people for murder and then they let them go? It's okay. This folk, now he's not involved, right? So he's not charged. He's not convicted. He's just arrested for murder. So these are cherry picked stats that just sounds good. And you guys got to stop falling for this if you did fall for it. They're going to make it seem like we're the worst people in the country for sure and in the world. Because Tethers will repeat this as well, as you see some in the chat. All right. So, but now I'm not saying everything they say is false, but this is why we got to fact check everything, especially if we have not heard it before. Never take their word for fake value unless you're debating and don't have time to fact check it like Tariq on the fly. Right. But these people are, they have it in for us. All right. So now let's check this fact. Okay.
Don't do it. No.
All right. So I'll do a deeper research later because it Chat GPT must be worn out. I've been using it. So it says, this will give me what it got so far. Okay. So the ready to work partnership. Matter of fact, let's hear him one more time say it.
You also with the joint appeal for long-term work ethics. So it's not so 25% black unemployment in terms of you're saying white supremacy to you.
Most minorities are white.
Nigerians are white.
Most minorities are white. See, watch these trick words. Most minorities are white.
Yeah, you see how that is very slick to call us now. If a foreigner like Indian Chinese person calls us a minority, it's like that was introduced to them. Like we were introduced as minorities to them. But if a white American calls a minority, like they're really being funny, especially in a debate that white supremacy does not exist or racism isn't as big as what we make it to be. If they say minority, they're doing it for a reason.
In terms of, you're saying women are a minority, is that what you're
white
trying to say?
Women,
right?
Hispanics who are classified as white.
Well, okay.
I know over here about 80% of them are white.
Okay, so he cut black unemployment in half. It went from 18.6% to 8.3%. That is specifically something that he did for black people. Ready for work partnership, 170.
Now look, again, I don't know that, but so far everything he's saying is suspect. But we'll fact check that as well. But this what happens also. It's possible that there are government jobs that are issued to minorities that are eligible because of certain poverty standards, right? Okay. And it's possible that Black folks were working under the Obama administration, maybe the first 4 years, maybe 8 years. But let's not even do Obama. Let's anybody. The first 4 years, 8 years, it's possible that you are working under their specific government program. But once the next president comes into office, he could just simply say, bye-bye. And you're back unemployed and employment rates go back up. All right. Anyways, but I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying some of that stuff is possible. So be careful of these talking points. We want to know about Black unemployment rate down for like 20, 30 years, where somebody had a good life, where they raised their kids, raised their families, and had a stable income.
Hey, don't love me.
$70 million for back to long-term work programs that disproportionately help black people. So 25% of the black recipients were black. 12% of the population, they were reflected double the recipients of this specific program for black people.
What was the name of that program?
The Ready for Work Partnership. And what it did is it prepared people for long-term work ethics. So it's not like I'm going to get you a job and then you're going to be out of this work in 2 years. But it not only prepared people for the jobs, but it trained them for the jobs and connected them with the jobs that they can.
I haven't heard of that program, and most black people haven't heard of that program. So I don't think that
25% of the people in the program for black.
I don't know nobody. I don't know one black person who has heard of that program.
Listen, you also didn't know
how many people did it affect?
How many people did it help? Because they watch. They say this stuff like 25% of the unemployed. See, they work these little numbers.
Yeah, how many
and it don't really affect a large number.
I didn't get the statistic of how many people. All I can tell you is the 170 million black people got 25% of that. Small businesses.
I got to verify that because that sounds real funny style.
Please do. Small.
Well, I just did. So now let's look at it. Okay, so the Ready to Work Partnership grants were launched in 2014 under the Obama administration through the Department of Labor. They provided $170 million to support long-term unemployment workers, right? helping them gain new skills and re-enter the workforce, especially in fast-growing industries like healthcare, IT, and manufacturing. These were competitive grants given to community colleges, nonprofits, workforce boards, and employers. Okay, so now let's look at the 25% Black beneficiary claim. Some reports and evaluations later cited that approximately 25% of program participants were Black Americans. This does not mean, listen, look at the trick bag. This does not mean Black people got 25% of the money directly. This does not mean Black people were overrepresented relative to poverty or unemployment rates. What it means is 25% of the people helped by the program were Black according to demographic tracking from grantees. That doesn't mean they were living in poverty. This is not surprising when you consider that Black Americans were disproportionately impacted by long-term unemployment during the Great Recession and beyond. The program was never not race targeted. I'm sorry. The program was need-based, not race targeted, though it did seek equity and outreach to underserved communities. Why racists misuse this stat? See, this is a racist talking point. I tell you, you got to be careful, man. So white supremacists are racists like Andrew Schulz. Commentators often use the 25% number to push the false narrative that Black people always get handouts or special treatment. Here's how they misuse the number. You see? Hey, get back over here. Yogi. Come on, come. Come back. Okay. So they ignore that white Americans also benefited from the program, often making up a larger share of recipients. Liar. Andrew Schulz, you liar. They act like the program was a Black-only benefit when, in fact, Latinos, Asians, whites, and all others participated. Liar. White supremacists. That's Charlemagne's boy. They failed to mention that Black unemployment and underemployment are historically higher due to systemic discrimination, making targeted help justified and equitable. So why are other folks even eligible for this program? Since we were the only ones targeted to experience high rates of unemployment deliberately, it was a system of racism that made that possible, that we were targeted to not work and be unemployed and have no wealth. So you would think that some type of equity program will try to balance to balance that, help us get back on our feet, right? But no, this program benefited whites too. Why are whites there? Why are whites there? Why are they in part of the program? Why are they messed up? So chat. Y'all got to ask yourself, and ask these white supremacists and tethers and Black conservative coons, y'all got to ask them, why are whites even getting anything? Listen to me clear. Why do people say that Black people who've never received handouts, that we have no excuse to fail? Right? You would think we got all the excuse to fail. The people who never got assistance for 100 years, who been locked out of wealth, had laws systematically to deprive us and marginalize us in impoverished conditions. And then our neighborhoods got just straight sacked, burned down, mass racial riots. And then other flourishing neighborhoods, you had highways just built right across them, undermining the progress and growth and losing all of the income. Okay. So the people who were targeted, the targeted ethnic group, right? That was on the bottom. This was a planned unemployment. This was a planned unemployment fact, right? Or planned unemployment race, planned unemployment ethnic group. We were planned to be unemployed. You would think we would have all the excuses to fail. I don't know how they do this, but you would think that the people who got the handouts over and over and over and over for 100 years, you would think, no, they have no excuse to fail. Not the people who were locked out of wealth and opportunities. You would think the people who were welcomed, invited, introduced, participated in these wealth programs, these educational programs, you would think that they would have no excuse to fail. Like they flipped it on us. It's like, no, the people who are underprivileged, they have all the reason to fail. The people who are privileged, they have no reason to fail. That's like one last example. That's like a rich household. Like, let's say the Trumps. They was born with a silver spoon. They have no reason to fail. They have no excuse to fail. But if you have kids born in poverty, especially with one parent who's like a high school graduate, no real college background, right? You would feel like, hey, man, this person is pretty much set up to fail. You know, their parents. What can this kid do? The parent, that single parent, can only do but so much. It's a one income household. And the one income households are the poorest households in America. Then if you're Black, you're facing wage discrimination, job discrimination, and most likely you don't have money for college. So you will just be a high school graduate with probably a technical certificate, but you're not making a lot of money, and there's only one income. So a kid born under those conditions, and our parents had more than one kid, 3, 4, 5. So 3, 4, 5s being raised under those conditions, they have all of the reasons to fail. Life is against them. All right. So why do white people fail? None of them should be failing. They've been given handouts for 100 years. They've been privileged over us for 100 years. They have no excuse to fail. And this is why the have-nots hate us so much. Because like, damn, I failed. I'm on the same level as them, or they're above us, and everything was handed to me.
Okay.
That's what they can't live with. Okay. So this programs like this with 170, your water's over here. Yeah, come on, here's your water. So programs like this that they believe is for Black people, they act like these programs, and like welfare, like actual welfare, Section 8, they act like these programs are reparations. Okay, no, these programs are not reparations, nowhere near what reparations is and owes. All right. These are not race-based programs or ethnic group-based programs. This was a workforce development initiative, right? It was designed to address long-term joblessness, not specifically for Foundation Black Americans or anybody Black. Okay, now, Black participation reflected economic need, not favoritism. And watch this. Most welfare aid and job program beneficiaries are white in raw numbers due to population size. No racial group has a monopoly on help. Just keep that in mind. That's how they want it now. So if white supremacists and racists and Black conservative coons and tethers are mad that Black people, I can't even say foundational, Black people, and that goes a long way. That's African, Island folks, everybody. Okay, but if they're mad that Black folks got 25% of the help, just ask Andrew Schulz, would you prefer we let Americans suffer during unemployment because of their race? What about...
Why?
Okay, I get it. Yeah, he's dead. What about now watch this. They're complaining about 25%. What about the 98% of white folks who got that for 100 years?
Look,
That's it.
it's like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
like
25% ain't even a large number. That's not enough. We should have had what they had. We should have had 80 to 90% of that.
Small Business Association loans, the fee for those loans went to zero. They targeted Blacks by partnering with the U.S. Black Chambers.
Targeting Blacks. Watch these terms.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I really don't feel like fact checking this one, but maybe I should.
Went to zero. Small Business Association loans, the fee for those loans went to zero. They targeted Blacks by partnering with the U.S. Black Chambers.
Targeting Blacks. Watch these terms.
I'm
you saying they targeting Blacks? Those are not specifically for Black people.
I'm going to tell you how they targeted Black. So they partnered with the U.S. Black Chambers and targetation loans. 170 million Black people got 20.
I don't feel like. Okay, I'll fact check this as well. Peace sounds Bantu. Yeah, so. People, tethers like Myron Gaines talking about Black folks got no reason to fail, no excuse to fail. No, we got all the reason excuses to fail. White people they are the ones that don't have a reason or excuse to fail. Like they flipped it on us. The people locked out don't have no reasons to fail, but the people who's always included to wealth and privileges, assistance, you're telling me they got reasons to fail? Like, bro, it can't be for both. The people locked out, they have all right, hold on.
25% of that. The small business.
I got to verify that because that sounds real funny style.
Please do. Small business association loans. The fee for those loans went to zero. They targeted blacks by partnering with the U.S. Black Chambers.
Targeting blacks. Watch these terms. Are you saying they targeting blacks? Those are not specifically for black people.
I'm going to tell you how they targeted black. So they partnered with the U.S. Black Chambers and the 100 Black Men of America to make sure that these loans were targeted to blacks.
Did they get them though? Did they get them? Exactly. Did they get them?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, you don't know if they did that. So you're watching these words like targeted.
You don't know if they didn't.
Right.
So there it is. So until you can tell me they didn't, then they did. Men of America.
These terms
for those small 5% of that. The statistic of how many people, all I can tell you is the 170 million black people got 25% of that. The small business.
I got to verify that because that sounds real funny style.
Please do. Small business association.
What we're running?
Yeah, no running, okay? You fall down. All right.
Change the house.
Oh, you could sit right there. And you could sit right here. Right here. This is Laura's hat mask. It's too hot here. Okay, so no running. Fall down. All right.
Loans. The fee for those loans went to zero. They targeted blacks by partnering with the U.S. Black Chambers.
Targeting blacks. Watch these terms. Are you saying they targeting blacks? Those are not specifically for black people.
I'm going to tell you how they targeted black.
Okay, I'm over here watching my son and his friends sound like babies in.
So they loans went to zero. They targeted black small business.
I got to verify that because that sounds real funny style.
Please do. Small business association loans.
Small business association.
Yeah.
There.
Hey, let's fight. Yeah.
No, soft. Soft. No, stop.
Yeah.
No, stop. Don't go hard.
I eat my veggies. I eat my broccoli. No. Soft.
Yeah, soft. Okay. All right.
No.
But don't yell.
Please do. Small business association loans. The fee for those loans went to zero. They targeted.
Fee went to zero. Oh. No, soft. Oh, I got it. Second. Soft.
Hey, stop. But don't go my shoes. It's all from my car. Ah. Yeah. I have a blankie. Hey, we just do stop. Stop.
It's funny because it's like so hot out here, and the only shade they got is right near me. Okay, we'll get a Band-Aid once your mom come, okay?
Okay.
Your mom put a Band-Aid. Yeah, the only shade in all of outside that I can see is right next to me. That's why they came over here. Oh my God. All right. Okay, so if he went to zero, he said for Black Americans, what else? So
Small Business Association loans, the fee for those loans went to zero. They targeted blacks by partnering with the U.S. Black Chambers.
Targeting blacks by
Fine. Look at it. Fine. Because she's doing. What's wrong? Not right.
Okay.
Fine.
Second.
Blacks.
The fee for those loans went to zero. They targeted blacks by partnering with the U.S. Black Chambers.
Targeting blacks.
U.S. Black Chambers. Dude has some white supremacist stats with him. This is bad faith.
Watch these terms.
I'm
You saying
telling
they
you-
targeting blacks? Those are not specifically for black people.
I'm going to tell you how they targeted black. So they partnered with the U.S. Black Chambers and the 100 Black Men of America to make.
Oh my God, 100 Black Men of America.
Make sure that these loans were targeted to blacks. The fair
But did they get them
them to make sure to make sure that the loans indeed targeted blacks. Okay, what else, Andrew?
Oh, did they get them? Exactly.
Oh my
Did they
God.
get them?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Got it. All right, so I got it. He said yes. He said he has targeted blacks. Dang, not tight. Okay. Press this. Okay. Here we are. All right. This guy came with the white facts.
Okay.
Oh, you don't know if they did
you
that.
don't
So
know that they
you're
didn't.
watching these words like
That's true.
targeted.
You don't know if they didn't.
Right.
So there it is. So until you can tell me they didn't, then they did.
So those are weak reaches, man.
The Fair
That's
Sentencing
a weak
Act.
reach.
Fair
Okay, so now he's going to the Fair Sentencing Act. So this is where I kind of left off at when I was going to this the first time. We were litty, but I knew, later in the day, folks, I know y'all schedule during the week, during weekday. You guys are more available early in the afternoon. When it gets like this, 4, 5, 6, especially on a Friday, is worse. All right, so right now it's finding the research, and we're going to get to it.
Sentencing Act. This narrowed the gaps in sentencing between crack and cocaine. Okay, this is
Okay, so he said it narrowed the gap. So I know a lot about the crack cocaine ratio. So let me just tell you this. The narrowing, it did narrow, but it favored people who handle coke more than those who handle crack. Now listen, the ratio, people felt like it was disfavoring people who handled crack and were rewarding people who handled coke. What do I mean? You needed more of a quantity of coke to get a 5-year mandatory minimum sentence in prison. And as for crack, yes.
Be kissing me.
Okay, don't mess with the beat. Don't mess with the beat, okay? Tell your mom there. Tell your mom you need a Band-Aid. Go, Laura. Go. Go. Go, Laura.
Get in her house.
No, see you by the car. Go.
You went in the car.
Okay. So basically, in order to get if you handle coke, to get a 5-year mandatory minimum sentence, that means the judge can't sentence you less than 5 years. To get that mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years, you had to literally have a book bag worth of coke. Okay? Literally. But for a crack handler, to get a 5-year mandatory minimum sentence. That means the judge can't sentence you no lower than 5 years because he could do more. You only had to have access of a handful of crack. So the person with a handful of crack gets the same mandatory minimum sentence as a person with a book bag full of coke. So yes, that's why the racial disparity, this became racial. So Obama had amended that. Okay, go. He had amended that, but even with the amendment, the coke handler still got less time than the person with the crack. And the portion was smaller. So instead of a book bag of coke, if you had a let's say if you had a fanny pack worth of coke, you get but you only need a handful of crack. So it was still more lenient for a coke handler. So anybody who's into drugs, crack and coke, it was literally more beneficial. If you're going to take that risk, if you're going to believe crime pays, it made more sense to handle coke than crack. Okay, coke just costs a lot more to get in that game. But yeah, if you're gonna risk your life, risk your freedom, you might want to mess around with the COKE because you're coming back home. You dig that crack? Nah, you doing football years. All right, so the research is in. Okay, so now we're going to break down the claim Andrew Schulz said about the SBA, the Small Business Administration loans. Okay, so this fact, like Tariq already sniffed out, this is distorted by racist and racist suspects, right? Tethers and Black conservative coons. And they do it to frame support for Black businesses as, again, unfair handouts. He's just not telling you that. He's mentioning all these programs, right? These assistances that he believed that Black folks benefit from because they are calling these handouts. See, Blacks get handouts. Okay, so watch this. So did the Small Business Administration, SBA, waive loan fees only for Black Americans? And they partnered with Black organizations like the U.S. Black Chambers and its 100 Black Men of America. Why, Andrew Schulz? To ensure the loans went to Black people. So listen to the claims that Andrew made. Andrew said the loans were zero for Black Americans. He said Black Americans were exclusively targeted for these special treatments. He said the U.S. Black Chambers. He said the 100 Black Men of America. And the third thing he said was Black people receive most or all of the SBA loans. Okay. So this is what I'm trying to say. What makes them difficult to deal with is because they're not all the way lying. These folks, they mix in truth with falsehood, truth with fiction. This is why they can't win over here. Because Ambias Ron actually know the research in advance. I know when they're lying. It's like, okay, well, you want to finish that? You want to finish what it said? Like I did with the Black conservative. Okay. So SBA loans. Okay, they did waive or reduce fees, but not only for Black Americans. So let's go back to Andrew Schulz's claim because we're fact checking it.
Until you can tell with the jobs that the program. How many people tell you the 170 million Black people got 25% of that? The small business.
And I got to verify that because that sounds real funny style.
Please do. Small Business Association loans. The fee for those loans went to zero. They targeted Blacks by partnering with the U.S. Black Chambers.
Targeting Blacks. Watch these.
So Tariq Nasheed caught him. He said they targeted Blacks, but these loans you targeted Blacks, but they were not only for Blacks and they were not exclusive to Blacks. Go on.
Terms that you saying they targeting Blacks. Those are not specifically for Black people.
I'm going to tell you how they targeted Black. So they partnered with the U.S. Black.
Yeah, but he keeps saying, "I'll tell you how they targeted Blacks." Tariq Nasheed is not even dismissing that or going against that. Yeah, you could target Blacks, but that don't mean Blacks actually receive these loans.
Chambers and the 100 Black Men of America to make sure that these loans were targeted to Blacks. The fair
they targeted. Now Tariq Nasheed said, but did they receive them?
Did they get them though? Did they get them? Exactly.
Oh
did they get them?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, you don't.
Okay, so he said yes. And there's a saying, pseudos die at their source. Pseudos lose at their source.
know if they did
you
that.
don't know that they
You're
didn't.
watching these words like
That's true.
targeted.
You don't know if they didn't.
Right.
So there it is.
Okay, so he said you don't know if they didn't.
So until you can tell me they didn't, then they did.
Those
Okay, so now let's well, I know if they did. Okay, so these waves, right, or reduced guaranteed fees, were not exclusive for Black Americans. They were for anybody who qualified. Okay. So anyway, so the SBA often waives or reduces guarantee fees on certain small business loans under programs like 7A and 504, especially during times of economic recovery, e.g. COVID relief. All right. So these fee waivers were not race specific. They're never going to do anything race specific. They apply to small dollar loans, businesses in undeserved areas, or those affected by the pandemic, regardless of race, right? So now, Black business owners, Black business owners, Black-owned businesses were disproportionately eligible because they are most likely to operate in undeserved or low-income areas and were hardest hit during COVID. That's a fact. Okay. So the SBA partnered with Black organizations for outreach. Yes, the SBA did, Schulz, partner with the U.S. Black Chambers and USBC and groups like 100 Black Men of America to improve awareness and access. But this was not exclusivity, okay? It was an outreach strategy to close racial gaps. Similar partnerships were made with Latino, Native American, and women's business organizations. Look at we got them. We got them. White women. So they had 100 Black men for targeting Black people. Well, guess what? They had 100 white women targeting white women. They had 100 Black Native Americans targeting Native Americans. They had 100 Native Americans targeting Native Americans, and they had 100 Latinos targeting Latinos. Okay? So the goal was to make sure undeserved businesses knew what was available, because historically foundational Black American business have been undeserved by mainstream banks and the SBA. I'm going to do a whole video on how Black banks were set up to fail. Okay. Did foundational Black Americans receive most of the loans? No, Andrew Schulz, we did not receive most of the loans. Even with outreach efforts, get off that. Black-owned businesses received a disproportionately low share of SBA loans compared to white-owned businesses. So even privileged neighborhoods, undeserved businesses, right? White people still benefited the most from this SBA program. So according to SBA and Brookings data, Black-owned businesses made up about 10% of all U.S. businesses, but they only received about 3.3 to 5% of SBA loans. So 10% of us, 10% of our businesses, only less than half received 3 to 5% of. Now I said that wrong. SBA loans, even after increased outreach. So even when they put more boots on the ground to, bring awareness to Foundation Black Americans about these business loans, we still benefit next to nothing, 3 to 5%. So many Black businesses still face denials, less favorable loan terms, or a lack of relationships with banks approved by the SBA. So just because, if you're a homeowner and you work with the FHA for a loan, just because you're approved by the government to, for funding to get a home, doesn't mean somebody got to sell you the home. Okay, so white nationalists and racists like Andrew Schulz twist the facts to claim Blacks get special treatment, when in reality, the programs were race neutral, but included targeted outreach to help groups who historically been excluded. Even with that outreach, Black entrepreneurs still got less access to capital than they should have. These policies aim to correct existing disparities, not flip the system in favor of Black Americans. Yeah. So try again. Okay, get out of here.
A weak reaches, man.
The Fair
That's
Sentencing
a weak
Act.
reach.
Fair Sentencing Act. This narrowed the gaps in sentencing between crack and cocaine. Okay, this is something specifically that I'm sure that you were referencing when you talked about the institutionalized racism and institutionalized imprisonment of black people. So he specifically targeted the difference in time served.
Then why are so many black people still disproportionately in jail for
jail.
drug crime?
Well, Barack can't change that in 8 years.
All right, but let's be real. Let's not throw all these little.
Well, you think that's because of racism?
These little symbolic things.
Well, you think that's because of racism?
Because brothers in jail like that? Yeah.
So here's a question: 95% of the people in jail are male. Is that because the justice system is sexist?
No. But the justice system is dominated by white supremacy. You know why? Because
let's just attach on that. So it's not. So I gave you a statistic, right? That is the same statistic that you gave me, but you said immediately no and discredited it. Now this is a perfect example of where you're blinded by race. You see a race statistic, you believe it, right? Because we don't question the things. We don't question. And I gave you a gender statistic, and you believe it, and you completely disregarded it.
I'm what? Going off from what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying.
No,
my point.
You're responding to what I'm saying. My point is, just because a statistic exists doesn't mean there's reason.
Let him talk.
You're deflecting, Schulz. So
he's a grown man. When you
Schulz is deflecting.
No, we got to have a conversation. You got to think about people listening.
So you're saying that
95% of people in
the disproportionate number of black men in jail is not because of race, not because of white supremacy.
Not necessarily.
Is she done?
Most black men are in jail. Most black men are in jail for nonviolent drug offenses. Our sister Michelle Alexander, she broke that down in her book. But the number one drug in the country, crystal meth, heroin, that stuff. 90% of the people who use and sell are white.
Are you familiar with the punishment for crystal meth? Are you familiar with the how long you have to do in jail if you're caught with that?
How long? What does that have to do with them going to jail, period? Because
exactly the same amount of time for crack.
He just killed himself.
Now,
so how come the jails are not filled with white meth and heroin users and sellers?
They're increasingly becoming that way.
Increasingly? Well, how come they're not now? Why not now?
Yeah, Andrew just that was a bar. Tariq killed him. Let me rewind that without any commentary so I could clip that.
What does that have to do with them?
The punishment for crystal meth? Are you familiar with the how long you have to do in jail if you're caught with that?
How long? What does that have to do with them going to jail, period? Because
exactly the same amount of time for crack.
Now, so how come the jails are not filled with white meth and heroin users and sellers?
They're increasingly becoming that way.
Increasingly? Well, how come they're not now? Why not now?
Because meth is a newer drug.
And meth has been around for a long time.
No, it hasn't. Meth is a much newer drug.
Meth has been around for a long time.
Heroin's
been around.
Drug, but meth is a much newer drug, and they're increasingly so inside these jails. The numbers are shocking.
You're just saying they haven't gotten them yet? That's what you're saying?
It's happening. I think in the next 10 years, you're going to see a similar epidemic with meth as we saw with crack.
Okay, well, guess what? This was 8 years ago. We got 2 years more, and there is no disproportionate arrest, charge, and convictions of meth handlers to influx the jail systems to date. They're giving them rehab programs. They're sentencing them to rehab programs.
No. How new is meth? I thought meth been around.
As a matter of fact, let me research meth. God damn, I got to research all this stuff. Hold on.
Been around for a long time. Meth has been around for a long. That's not true, Schulz.
It absolutely is true. You can look it up.
Meth has been around for a long time.
Now let's look at the 95%.
That's going to be that's being disingenuous, but that's okay.
Let's look at the 95% statistic. So 95% of the people in jail are male. Is that because jail is sexist? You said that jail is racist because the majority of people in jail are black, or a disproportionate amount of blacks are in jail. So that means that was enough proof for you to say it's racist. So I'm saying 95% of people in jail are male. That is disproportionately male to female. Is that, by your logic, because jail is sexist?
That's just a deflective argument.
Yeah, he definitely deflected and switched it to just now. Why are men more in prison than women? Like, dude, first of all, women don't commit nowhere near the crimes the same as men on no level at all. Murder, you can name the crime. Women don't create none of them, commit none of them as close to men. Probably just prostitution and some other shit. But that's it. Okay? Get down from there, you
Schulz, that's nothing but a deflection. It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with the price.
Doesn't mean
it's no answer. It's a deflective argument that has nothing to do with the price of tea in China. The reason why there's so many people, and even let's go to black women, more black women in jail than white women, and there's more white women who are meth users and drug users there. So it always goes back to systematic white supremacy.
There's also more black women in college and more black women in graduate school.
Not than white women.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously, there's more white women in the country, but percentage-wise, black women are the most educated people in the country. So is that because education system is racist?
So we're going by the percentage thing.
That's
I'm
how
talking
you
about
look
raw,
at.
you
That's how you look at a demographic.
Numbers. No, you look at raw numbers.
Okay, well,
Okay, so I'm so glad he said that. Yeah, Tariq Nasheed was really ahead of his time. I'm telling you, like, I can keep up with him only because of like modern day, research tools like Gemini, Chat GPT. But he was talking all this way back then, so I'm gonna give him credit. Now I got a little criticism as well, because that's how we get better as a race, to critique each other, uplift, not tear down. If anything, destroy and rebuild. But I gotta give him credit. Yeah, he knew a lot about something at that time. He probably know all the ins and outs because, like I said, our research tools today are obviously better. So you see, I can fact check on the fly and get like a detailed explanation. Is our research tools just they're lit. But for him to know as much as he did at that time, it means that he was reading. He was actually reading material. Like we're just typing it up and getting the summarization of things. He had to read this information himself to know all this stuff. I'll be amazed like how much he knows. Like I know that. Now he didn't know about hyperselectivity. Had he known that, he would have really just been crushing these fools. But
so is that because education system is racist?
So we're going by the percentage thing.
That's I'm talking about raw, that's how you look at a demographic.
Okay, so when Tariq Nasheed, when he said raw numbers, that is important. I might do it today. I might do it. Okay, hold on.
You look at raw numbers.
Okay, well,
you look at raw numbers.
White people are 5 times the population of black people. Clearly, there's going to be more of them.
And if there's 5 times percent of the population, why are so many more black people in jail? And you're 5 times percent of the population. All these black men are in jail.
We could also look at the same statistic and say, why are there so many black
But
people?
No. We can also answer that question.
Why? Okay, what is your question?
The question is,
and methamphetamine has been around since 1887. By the way,
I'm not saying they haven't been around, but the meth. It's like saying crack. Yeah, you could make.
So you said no. You said so. The meth epidemic, or you said meth is a newer drug,
right?
The meth epidemic is a new drug. Yeah, the meth epidemic is
newer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But back to your question. You had a question.
But the question is, because there's 5 times more white people in the country, shouldn't they be in jail 5 times more?
Absolutely.
Then why are they not?
You would think.
Then why are they not?
Because in what the justice system believes is they aren't committing the crime at that rate.
Why do they think that?
I don't know. Why do you think that?
White supremacy?
I wouldn't chalk it up to just white supremacy. I would chalk it up to the lasting effects of slavery, and I would talk about
which is white supremacy.
Which is
white supremacy. You keep bringing different words for white supremacy.
That mass incarceration is a race issue, though.
Yeah,
it's been proven.
Yes. There are.
We agree on a lot of stuff. So you prove a lot of stuff, right?
Absolutely. There are certain aspects I can't deny that, and I absolutely would deny. But I think that it is more detailed and nuanced than you give it credit for. So, for example, when we look at the numbers that we see. I guess you chalk up everything that has happened to black people in America to the history of black people in America.
Well, I chop up everything that happens now. Everything, especially everything negative that happens to black society is completely.
I had to run my son to the bathroom. But man, look at all the points this dude ran from. So it turned out crystal meth was before crack, so 1887. And then he said there was no crystal meth epidemic. How do you know that? How do you know that? So it goes back to neighborhoods that are, it goes back to neighborhoods. All neighborhoods do illegal activities, right? They all do crime. So if you over police neighborhoods based off race and ethnic identity, you're going to find a larger output of criminals based on race and ethnic identity. That's just a fact. All right. So now I researched it as well. So it says crystal meth has not been around as long as crack cocaine, and the racial and class dynamics surrounding for their use and enforcement are key to understand the difference in its incarceration rate. So I guess the epidemic, which is true, the epidemic for meth hasn't went crazy, and we could easily explain that because it hasn't been concentrated in one area. Like crystal meth has been passed around like a recreational drug amongst white folks. But with crack cocaine, like who will argue that was not like a planned drug to, destroy the black community. But who would argue that? Okay, so crack. So so crystal meth, the epidemic. So, but anyway, the bottom line is that Andrew Schulz was right about that. That crystal meth the epidemic came after the crack cocaine, but he was wrong about something. It only came, their epidemic only came 10 years after the crack epidemic. So we know in the 80s, mostly Black urban communities were affected by crack cocaine disproportionately. And guess what? In the 1990s, mostly white, rural, and working class communities experienced and suffered from crystal meth abuse. It's only 10 years later. So he was right that the epidemic of crack was before, but only 10 years later was a meth epidemic. So what happened? What happened? So this is what happened to Andrew Schulz. So the way the government handled crack cocaine, harsh criminalization, 100-to-1 sentencing disparity. Wait, what? Oh, shit, I didn't see that. Hold on one second. Hey, I didn't see that. Yeah, this not. Oh,
Where
wait.
did you get that chair from?
I said no.
Where did you get that chair from?
I know.
Whose chair is that?
I know. It's his name chair.
From where?
Right here.
No. Where was it from?
I know. We got and the on his face.
Huh? Where you get that chair from?
Dolores.
Huh?
Dolores chair.
Dolores.
The girl.
How you get it? He brought it over here?
He did, yes.
He did?
I think. I'm not sure. One of them did.
Where's she at?
Well, she fell down, so I guess she getting like Band-Aid, whatever. She ran, it was running, and she fell in it.
Where you roll at?
Right over there. The street. Don't stop running.
Did you see Brother when he hit that?
Nah, but he always hits it. He always hits it.
Damn, I should have. Why'd you say something?
Orchestrated by white supremacy, and I mean that with no exception.
I mean, President Obama said that in his farewell speech the other day. He said that He said white people need to stop dismissing the fact that the after effects of slavery and Jim Crow are very much affecting us as a society.
And he also
now.
said stop looking at everything as a race thing.
He did, but it works both ways.
Yeah.
You don't look at everything as a race thing, but you have to deal with the reality of the situation.
Absolutely, I've never denied that. I've been a very, very strong proponent of the effects of Jim Crow and
What's that?
slavery,
What's down
and I
there?
think it's one of the reasons
What is it? I didn't see it. More toys? Okay.
why blacks that come here from Africa and the West Indies are so successful in this country is because they don't have that lasting legacy and they don't have that victimology mentality that the blacks that are raised.
Oh, they have it. Oh, they have it. But the thing is,
Not
they're
to the
allowed.
extent.
They're allowed over here. See,
Not to the
especially in
extent.
their country, their countries are dominated by white supremacy. That's why they had to bring
Yeah,
their
but they
asses over
grew,
here.
but they grew up with their own leaders, right? They grew up
No,
looking
they
at
grew up with puppet leaders.
black
They know
presidents.
that.
They grew up looking at black people in office. They grew up looking at black business
Nelson
owners.
Mandela was a real leader.
They go look at all these things. I
I've
mean,
been-
many of
brother,
them were real leaders.
I've been Schulz. I've been to Africa. When a white person steps
Where in
out,
Africa?
I've been to Ethiopia. I've been to Egypt. I've been to Tanzania. I've been to South Africa. Been to Zanzibar. And one thing I've noticed: whenever a white person steps out somewhere, black people there surround them. Because they know that we live in a global system of white supremacy, and those are the people with the resources, and that's who I need
Surround
to be around.
them? What do you mean?
So literally, surround them, like begging. Surround them. Like, hey, who are you? What do? You got food, medicine, and this is
So
why
is that
African people
because-
are getting on ships and boats, floating over to Europe, because
Again,
those
so
are the
is-
people who have all the resources.
Is that okay? Just like you just said it right
Yes.
there. You just said it. Is that because they're white, or is that because they have resources?
Ah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
They
Right.
want
Listen.
resources. So if
Right,
a
right,
rich
right.
black guy
Right,
is
right.
walking through the streets of Zanzibar, I guarantee some black people are going to surround him going, hey, do you have some resources for me? I'd love some resources. That'd
Right.
be great.
Right. So the resource thing. Why do white people have so many resources globally?
Well, not white people. White people don't. I mean, if we look at America, we see the intense poverty across America, the intense welfare state that America has become.
Who has the majority of the resources?
White people that have
Who
resources.
have the majority of the global resources?
A very small percentage of 1% of the population. That is not reflective of if I blamed, or you or anybody blamed all black people for the actions of 1% of black people, right? You would call that racist or prejudice. But you have no problem blaming all white people for the actions of 1% of whites.
No. I've never said that. Let's be very clear. I've always said all white people are not white supremacists. I never said that. No, I didn't. No, I never said that. All white people are not white supremacists.
I don't know if you
the
know
white
what you're saying.
supremacists are the most powerful people on the planet.
All right, now y'all know me. I don't like that white supremacist argument. I rather the system of racism, because it focuses on the system. It focuses on institutions, banks, and things like that, which is more easily approved than pointing to somebody saying they're racist or white supremacist. If they don't admit to it, it's like really hard to say, "Hey, you're a white supremacist." Anyway, so watch this. So the government responded to the crack epidemic by harsh criminalization, which was the 100-to-1 disparity, or the ratio, the 100-to-1 disparity ratio, racial disparity ratio. Okay, so this was a sentencing disparity. Check it out. So remember I said you had to have a book bag full of coke to get locked up for the same sentence as a person with a handful of crack? So that was the sentencing. That was the 100-to-1 ratio, sentencing disparity. So you had to have 100 grams of coke to get you had to have 500 grams of coke to serve a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years. You needed 500 grams of coke. So what is 500 divided by 100? That's the ratio. So in order to get the same sentence, in order to get the same sentence, the same mandatory minimum sentence as a person that has 500 grams of coke, you only needed 5 grams of crack. That's it. That was the 100-to-1 crack/cocaine ratio. Obama brought it down to like 15-to-1. And the coke dealers still benefited more. Okay, anyway. 5 grams of crack, only 5 grams of crack, will get you the same mandatory minimum sentence as a person with 500 grams of coke. Okay, now that same 100-to-1 ratio, that did not only apply to just crack cocaine, that also applied to, guess what? Crystal meth and cocaine. So same thing. If you only have 5 grams of crystal meth, you will serve the same time as somebody with 500 grams of coke. So they were supposed to be hard on people who handle harder and harsher on people who handle crack and crystal meth. And it's simple, because crystal meth and crack can decimate a neighborhood far worse than cocaine ever could. Okay. So because drugs like that causes epidemics, coke is not really known for that. Because most users, 80% of users who abuse coke sniff it. They don't smoke it. So it's a different effect. That's a whole nother line. Like the whole what's it called? Pharmacology or coke and crack. I forgot. But some research I did a long time ago. But they didn't handle the epidemic of crystal meth the same way they did with crack. And crack and meth, crystal meth, they both could decimate a neighborhood in a blink of an eye. Far worse than what coke could ever do. But they didn't handle the crystal meth outbreak epidemic as they did the crack. And that's what Tariq Nasheed was just trying to communicate to Andrew Schulz. Now, how did they handle the crystal meth outbreak? Because he said in 10 years, he told Tariq, in 10 years, you will see, mass incarceration from white people or people who handle crystal meth. It's a lie because they chose the public health approach for people who handle crystal meth. They were not going to jail for football years. And by the way, do you know that that mandatory minimum sentence for crack, it didn't matter if you were the drug dealer or the drug user. Both of y'all, if y'all handled that much crack, you were serving the same time. So the drug dealer and the drug user, the abuser would do as much time as the coke dealer if he had the same amount of crack on. That's crazy because we know an abuser is no longer a choice. Like it's an addiction. And it's a hard addiction. Crack has a hard addiction. Crystal meth has a hard addiction to break, as you can imagine. But the drug dealer, like what type of addiction they have other than money and greed? So there's no way that they should serve the same time. So Obama did amend that too, where where I think that minimum pretty much stuck to the drug dealer and not necessarily the drug user. So that was amended through Obama. But again, that wasn't just for black folks. That was for everybody who handled those drugs, crack, cocaine, crystal meth, so on and so forth. But they did not mass incarcerate them. They chose they chose a public health approach. All right. And they had fewer sentences if they went to jail at all. Anyway, let's go on.
That's what we were talking about with Tariq earlier, because whenever he goes on Tucker's show, I always tell him I think that's dangerous because they try to paint him as a racist instead of a person who's against white supremacy. I think it's a difference.
Right, but they just twist your words and use the I'm white, not say so narrative. So no matter what I say, they're going to flip it and just say something else anyway. So that's I'm white, not say so. I'm used to that.
All right. Let's pause this conversation with Tariq Nasheed to tell you that this episode of Brilliant Idiots is brought to you by Squarespace. Whatever your next move might be, get it started on a good foot by using Squarespace. Squarespace provides simple, intuitive tools that allow you to build the website of your dreams with ease. Squarespace is used by a wide range of people and businesses, including musicians, designers, artists, and even restaurants. And it gives you the ability to create an online platform from which to make your next move known to the world. You can add and arrange your content and feature with the click of a mouse. And there's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. Though, if you do have a question, Squarespace provides award-winning 24/7 customer support and can help you with any problem, no matter how technical or trivial seeming. So whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, or an online it's all included in your Squarespace website. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com and enter offer code IDIOT to get 10% off your first purchase. Squarespace, set your website apart. Let's get back into our conversation with Tariq. Now, what is the argument that y'all are having here? That white supremacy exists?
No, we agree that white supremacy exists. What I think that he does is often, I think he wants to prove white supremacy so much that he often loses or misses out or is blind to the real cause on some issues. On some issues, it's white supremacy, an undeniable fact, right? And on other issues, it might have nothing to do with white supremacy, but because you want to prove it so badly, you miss that.
And I want him to tell me what areas of activity that are not dominated by white supremacy.
We just proved it. Religion.
He said religion, and I just proved that religion is completely dominated by white supremacy.
You just proved that you know nothing about religion.
I just did.
Which religion, though? Which one you talking about?
All of them.
All of them are dominated by white supremacy. Yeah.
We can't go back on this because we already proved it, but it's not even close.
We didn't. When there's black churches, white churches, it's definitely dominated by white supremacy.
Okay, another thing that you said on the tax season podcast is you were talking about black feminists date white men, and it's because you said this is because of the Negro bed wench mentality.
I heard it too.
Yeah. And so what do you mean by that? How pussy they are, basically.
Just be low. Why can't it just be interracial couple don't like being called a suspected white supremacist?
Robbing a store.
But not by me.
But by the white.
A white supremacist was easy. Because
upset about. I don't know if y'all talked about this. He don't like being called a suspected white supremacist.
I don't like white supremacy. So let's get rid of white supremacy, and I won't suspect nobody of being a white supremacist.
Well, here's my issue. Here's my issue with the suspected thing.
Yes.
I think it's lazy. Because what it does is it gives a person the stigma of being a white supremacist without you actually doing the due diligence and research to find out if that person is. It's like saying someone's a suspected pedophile. It's like, well, I'm not going to let that person babysit. Even if that person has not been proven to be a pedophile, just suspected is enough for me to be like, get away from my fucking kids.
Now imagine that stigma magnified to our everyday lives. We are suspected of having a gun. We are suspected. By whom?
Not by
the
me.
Pantaleos of the world.
But not by
we're
me.
the ones who are suspected of selling cigarettes illegally, and we're harmed by that.
Right.
We're suspected of robbing a store.
But not by me.
But by the white supremacists.
So
and I'm
that
not
gives
saying
you
you are.
permission
I'm
to
not
do it
saying
to
you
me?
are. I'm not saying you are. But you're not telling us who the white supremacists are, and I'm not calling you a white supremacist. But if you do something, I'm going to have to suspect you might be for my own safety.
It sounds like both of y'all don't want nobody
So-
generalizing.
Right.
So what I guess what I want to know is
So you're
you're
going to get a stigma, but I could possibly get killed out here for being a suspect. So that's the big difference, Joe. So let's remove white supremacy altogether, so nobody will be suspected of anything.
Do you agree two things can be wrong?
Like what do you mean?
Just two
Of
things can
course,
be wrong.
1,000 things can be
Killing
wrong.
somebody's wrong. Wrong and rape is wrong.
Of course.
Both of those things are wrong.
Absolutely.
One doesn't negate the other.
Absolutely
right?
not.
It's not like I'm getting, this person over here is getting raped and you're like, yeah, but we're getting killed, so you need to shut up about your rape shit.
No,
that's what you're
that's
doing
not-
right
that's not
now.
my argument.
You're basically saying, hey, listen, I'm allowed to call you a suspected white supremacist because, hey, I've been going through some fucked up shit.
Because I'm a victim of white supremacy. So it's
So
my
you're
duty.
just
It's my
free
it's-
to call
it's-
anybody who you don't have to do any
No,
research.
that is my own experience. When I say I suspect this person might be a white supremacist,
Right.
that's my experience.
So what have I said that made you suspect that?
I don't. I've never called you a suspected white supremacist, by the way. I haven't called you that.
Tariq.
I haven't called you that.
Tariq.
I haven't. I want you to listen.
I've heard you say that
People think that he
people
was.
think. Yeah, I've heard you say.
I haven't really listened to Schulz.
He's never directly called
then
you.
he-
Right.
Then he
I've never
later
called you a
did.
suspected white supremacist.
That's-
I've
he said
never,
from what you've heard.
from what I've heard.
Yeah, you said that. I give him that. He said that.
So you find pushing this rhetoric out there,
What rhetoric?
this suspected white supremacist. So what you've heard mean? I guess at what point
I've heard
in time,
people tell people like Schulz is a white supremacist.
Okay, so I've heard people
So that's
say,
why I'm not going to call you one.
I've
but,
heard somebody say you're gay. That
Right.
Are you a suspected homosexual?
Well, you can't find a booty hole that I've had relations with, so that's
So
easy
you
to
can't
disprove.
find a person that I've had white supremacy towards.
But the thing is, what have you done to replace the system of white supremacy?
What have you
with
done
justice?
to not fuck booty holes?
I put my dick in my pants.
Well, I don't know that.
You don't
When it's
have
not
to.
in your
I know
pants-
it.
Yeah, but
I
you
know
know,
it.
but I don't. You
I
haven't
do.
proved it to me.
So
you could be
can-
fucking booty holes. I don't
could,
know.
but I'm not. So
First of
that's
all,
cool.
I never said you fucked him. Maybe you got fucked.
I know my booty hole is closed too.
But we don't know
you can
that.
think- I don't care if you don't know that.
That's why I said
my booty hole no.
suspected.
Guys,
You're
we're
suspected.
not here to discuss gay rights.
suspected.
We're not here to discuss gay
Schulz
rights.
is
guys.
really a lot on this dick and booty talk. with Schulz, man.
Absolutely.
Goddamn.
Welcome
He's
to
white.
white
He
boys.
white.
He's
This
white,
is how white
Tariq.
boys hang out,
He's
Tariq.
white.
Why do you think we're so emasculated?
thought he was
We
one of
talk
these white
about
guys? You thought he was one of these white guys that are black?
That's
He's
what
white.
I thought. I'm like, goddamn.
No, I'm the real fucking deal, baby.
Prefers
He
Asian
tried to
dick.
suck his own dick before. He's white.
Come on now, who hasn't?
So listen, how do we get to a solution? 'Cause I
Yes,
feel like
yes.
we do
No,
need
but
to
this is
have-
important.
Yes,
I don't want to get
yes,
away
yes.
from the suspected
Yes.
thing. I'm just saying I could go through and find people saying things that you say you are suspected of, which I think are unfair. I would never put them out there. Even if I disagree with you on a million different things. And I've already said to you, and I mean this sincerely, I think you're incredibly talented. I mean this sincerely. I would never put those things out there because I haven't done the work. I have a certain amount of integrity. I haven't done the work to find out if you
But the
are
thing
these
is,
things.
Schulz, man, we live in a system where black people are getting executed out here in the streets.
What does that
so
have to
we
do with me
need to know,
being called a suspected white supremacist? That doesn't
I
give you
never called
permission.
that, but
Just
we
because you've
need to
been through
know
something.
Who's the white supremacist? Nobody's telling us who the white supremacists are.
If I'm born with terminal cancer, does that mean that I can do whatever I want?
Nobody's
because I have
telling us
terminal
who
cancer?
the white supremacists are. We're going to have to suspect somebody of being a white supremacist in a system
So I'm
of
a
white
casualty
supremacy.
of a dice game. So
You're not.
So
You're not.
So
I'm not calling
so
you
you're
white
basically
supremacist,
stop and frisk with white supremacy. You believe in stop and frisk.
We have to, as victims
believe
of
in
white
stock and
supremacy,
frisk.
we need to know who's a potential white supremacist, who might
You
harm
sound
us
a lot like
when
the cops.
when we
need
walk-
to find out who's shooting people, so
But
we're going to
not
stop
shooting
everybody.
cops. We're not killing cops with impunity.
But
we're not
people were
killing.
shooting people
we,
in New York.
We just need to know who might victimize us. That's all we need to do.
Generalizations are dangerous all across the board.
Right.
That's all I'm hearing in this
Right.
conversation.
But real talk, I mean, you're doing stop and frisk with a suspected white supremacist, and it's the same thing now. Suspected white, now that it might be effective. Stop and frisk was very effective. I mean, and if you really want to look at who stop and frisk was targeting, which was Latinos and blacks, there was a time, a 6-month period from like January to June in New York City, where Latinos and blacks were responsible for 98% of a gun.
I mean, but
assailants.
that's nation. We're always suspect of something. We're always being suspected of
No,
something. If we walk in a store, people
not
following
suspected.
us.
Not
We're
suspected.
always suspected.
They were
of stuff, and
98%
it's
of
very
the people who
dangerous for us.
committed those crimes, right? So when they were only being targeted at 80%, the actual people who were being targeted too much were the Muslims, were the Asians, were the white people who didn't have anything to do with that gun crime in that period, right?
The bottom line,
they were
we are
unfairly
suspected
targeted.
for almost everything.
My
When
point
black
is-
people walk in somewhere, we're suspected of
I'm
stuff,
not
and we're punished oftentimes
Sure.
by people's suspicions.
So
So
true.
when we look at other
Yeah.
people and say, okay, that person might victimize me,
Yeah.
that's not being incorrect. That's not reverse racism.
Right.
That's us being cautious. That's all it is.
So what you're saying, you're justifying your racism through racism.
You cannot be a racist if you are a powerless person. Racism is systematic. Outside of name calling, tell me what racism can black people practice and get away with?
Charlemagne can practice racism right now. Charlemagne can decide that he doesn't want to hire people that are Asian for his many shows. Oprah can practice racism. Barack Obama can practice racism.
But
And
you're proving his point, though, because we're in positions of power. He said the powerless.
I know. But you think because he's black that black people don't have power. I think that's the most racist.
Powerless.
I know. But you think because he's black, this idea right there. I think the fact that you look at black people as powerless is incredibly racist and crippling to black mentality. I think it's really wrong.
So me and Charlemagne, we can not hire Asian people, and that's racist?
If you're doing it specifically because you don't want to hire Asians, yeah, you have the power to do that. You're a person of power. You have
that's
economic.
discrimination.
Now,
You're
first of all, not only is that discrimination. Now, furthermore,
But are black people doing that? I mean, you're talking about a hypothetical thing. I'm saying, show me where black people are even in a position to hire a lot of Asian people.
I just showed you
But
two.
I will say, even if you're poor, if you're poor and white, right?
One point, Charlamagne.
Right.
Now, if your point is that you need economic power to oppress, so all those poor
group
white
power,
people,
group power,
all
group
those
power.
poor white people that vote for Trump, they must not be
Group
racist.
group power, and the economics comes with them aggregating small amounts of money.
Okay.
See, we don't have that group power.
Why
we don't
not?
have that. We don't because
Black
of white
people shift
supremacy.
elections.
I'll show
Because
you.
of white.
Black people
they
shift entire
elections
elections.
with. With their numbers, but not with their money.
You just said
No,
group power.
Tariq,
You just said it.
I can show you where racism is dangerous to a powerless people. Like, I'm from South Carolina.
Yeah.
So if I go to one of these white trailer parks with a bunch of poor and disenfranchised people, regardless of how much money I got, if they're racist against me, it could be a dangerous situation.
Yes, indeed. Exactly. Because you can't have two supremes. There's no such thing as black supremacy. That's a contradiction of terms. Supreme means no higher than, end all, be all.
Mm-hmm.
So you have white supremacy, and supreme means I can kill you ultimately and do it with impunity. That's all it means at the end of the day.
Sure.
And the only people who can do that to us are the white supremacists. We can't do that to anybody else.
Mansa
Right, so
Musa
you-
was a black supremacist.
You define. He just didn't know any white guys.
$400 billion. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so you define power now. It's not in terms of economics. Before it was economics, but you've shifted your argument to saying it's just killing someone and getting away with it.
No, I didn't shift the argument. I'm just telling you what supreme
Well, we
means.
debunked your economic theory, so
No,
now
you didn't.
you're going into
No,
murdering.
you didn't.
We absolutely. We
How did
proved
you
it
debunk my
because
economic
you
theory?
have economic power. I'm assuming this is just me assuming that you have economic power.
Who, me as an individual?
You as an individual.
Right.
Tariq
No, I
Nasheed-
don't. I'm just a black person with a couple of dollars. But
Fine.
I don't have economic
Charlamagne
power.
has economic power.
A powerless black. Listen,
He has the ability to
I'm-
hire. He has the ability to staff entire television shows. He has the ability to staff writing rooms.
Listen, that's
He
a
has the
part of it.
ability-
But if I'm a powerless black
Staff
person,
radio
a powerless
rooms.
A
black
white person is not going to suffer if I don't hire him. Let's be very real.
But
An
Tariq-
Asian person ain't going to suffer if I don't hire him.
but-
Black people, we
Black
have
people
to.
aren't going to suffer if he doesn't hire them either.
Those
But
four-
we're going to have to go to some white person
Listen,
to hire us. For
no-
the most part, very few of us have economic independence, unfortunately, in the system of white supremacy. We go
very
over
few
that
white
hump.
people have economic independence.
Oh, please.
me ask you a question.
Absolutely.
That's
very
not
few
true.
white. White people have independence. You do
Well,
you
who
know how
has- who
poor
has-
white white people are?
Who has all the wealth in the country?
Didn't you grow up in the middle of the country?
1% though.
Yeah, but still,
That's
that
1%.
1%.
But that's the 1%. So you're
That
defining
1%
all
is
white
it.
people by the 1%. Do you see how your arguments keep falling apart?
No, that 1%, they
You're
control the
shifting-
wealth and the
yeah, but what
resources
you're
in this
doing is
country,
you're
and black
taking-
folks are still under that thumb. We still have to go to that
So
1%.
are poor white people. White people are?
Who has all the wealth in the country?
Didn't you grow up in the middle of the country?
20%. though.
Yeah, but still,
That's
that
1%.
1%.
But that's the 1%. So you're
That
defining
1%
all
is
white
it.
people by the 1%. Those poor white people who lost their houses in that mortgage crisis,
Right.
They were taken advantage by the exact
And
same
they have
1%.
no problem voting for Trump as long as he's going to keep the Negroes down just a little
They
bit further.
voted for Trump for the same reason why black people who voted for Barack Obama voted for Trump, because they want jobs, and they are anti-establishment votes. This election was not about racism; it was about
Some of it
anti-establishment.
was about
Now, come on, now, when
Some of it was about
you at the rally
anti-establishment.
yelling,
Listen,
nigga,
it's a lot
nigga,
of
nigga,
different
go
things.
back to
Every
Africa.
every
Come on,
election,
dude.
every election is going to be about. There are going to be a certain amount of people that are doing
Trump's
it for
the whole
racist issues.
Trump has had a
Every
career
single
of
one.
practicing white supremacy against black people, man.
Here's a question, Tariq.
What
The
I'm
four-
saying
the-
is
the
there are
four
black
brothers in
people who
Chicago. Hold on a
voted
second, hold on a
for him.
second.
Yeah.
The four people in Chicago, they were all powerless.
Yeah.
But that is a prime example of powerless people still practicing racism.
Which is
couldn't
this?
keep- in Chicago, where they tortured the white
Oh, they
dude.
kidnapped a kid. Yeah.
But they beat the guy up, but
Yeah,
that was
they
just
beat him
that
up.
was
They said, "Fuck white people, fuck Donald
and
Trump."
just that was just name calling. They beat the dude up, and after they beat him up, their asses went to jail less than 24 hours. Got
As they
charged with
should've.
hate crimes. Right.
As they
that's
should've.
Where's the racism? Because racism is systematic. There was no system that protected
no.
them.
Racism
there was
is
no
not
union.
systematic.
It is
That's a
systematic.
change
Look
of the
at the
de-
word.
that's the
Look at
change
the
of
word
the definition.
racism. Ism is systematic.
Racism is.
Racism is
If we look
systematic.
it up, racism is
It's a
prejudice based on race.
A system
No,
that's prejudice
system,
based on
no,
race.
No, system is
That's
something
why
that was added
outside
into
of-
it in the last 5 years. so
Outside
that
of
people
name
can push a
calling, we don't
narrative.
get away with being racist to
There's
nobody.
a difference between name calling and violence. These
Right.
people were
We
violent
don't get to
and
be
they kidnapped
violent,
somebody.
and they got punished immediately.
Absolutely,
where
they
white
should.
people who
They should.
practice racism, they can punish us and walk around free, and nothing happens to them.
That's not true.
That's a good point.
No, that's not true.
What do you mean
Listen,
that's not?
You're
What
saying
happened to Pantaleo? The person who killed Eric Garner, the person who killed Tamir Rice, the person who killed Freddie Gray.
So you're giving me 4 examples.
I can give more. I can just be here all day.
So you're giving me
I can
four-
give you several
four popular examples.
I can give you several examples.
of that happening
When
over and
we've
over again.
already-
Walter Scott. I can go on and on and on and on.
Sure.
And on.
Zimmerman.
All
Been a lot.
of them.
I mean, throughout history. I mean,
All
especially
right,
here
right.
in New York.
I mean,
Right.
we can go back to the lynchings and all that. None of them
because
got
we're
punished.
familiar with these examples.
Right.
But they've done studies. There was a Harvard professor that did this study.
Okay.
Black Harvard professor that did this
Don't,
study.
don't matter. Token. Okay, go ahead.
I know he's
I
talking
hate when
because
people
you
try
just-
to point out
you
somebody's
disagree
black.
with him and he's
I
token.
hate when they say he's black, so that means he's about to maintain white supremacy.
Oh my God.
See, you
The
get
reason
some black
why I
person
say
to.
Yeah, okay. I might have to use this bad audio. Yeah, okay. I gotta use a microphone that's acted up. Weird ass microphone, pissed me off. But when he said a Harvard professional, when he said Harvard professional family, he's talking about Larry Elder. One more time.
Don't matter. He told
studies. There was a Harvard professor
Okay,
that did
so he's
this
saying
study.
Harvard
Okay.
professor. I guarantee you, he's speaking about Larry Elder. Okay, that's why he don't want to say his name.
Black Harvard professor that did this study.
don't matter. Token. Okay, go ahead.
What's
I
his
know.
name?
I hate when
because
people
you
try
just-
to point out
you
somebody's
disagree
What is his name?
black. I hate when they say he's black, so that means he's about to maintain white supremacy. You
The
get
reason
some black
why I
person
say
to,
the
okay,
reason
go ahead.
why I say he's black is because he saw this he saw this incredible racial injustice with all these black people being killed, and he was a economics professor. So what he decided to do is take it upon himself to prove systematically and statistically that this was happening to black people beyond a shadow of a doubt. And his research showed that black people were harassed more by the cops, pushed up against walls more by the cops, handcuffed more by the cops at a higher percentage, and spoken disrespectfully during these interactions, a higher percentage than black people. But when it came to being killed by the cops, white people were killed more by the cops than black people, even in situations where the cops had the right to shoot, by 18%. Now,
The reason why, Schulz, is because more white people kill police officers. And not only that,
Wait, what?
more white people kill police
No,
officers. Last year alone,
now you're talking about numbers.
71% of the police officers that were shot by white males.
Yes.
So more white people kill cops. So yeah, cops
What
are going to
percentage
shoot.
of white people are there in the country?
80%? What is it?
70%. So they're right
okay.
on par. They shot the
Right.
exact amount of cops they're supposed to.
Exactly. So why are they
It's
killing?
horrible.
So why
It
are they
sounds
killing? So
horrible.
why unarmed black people getting killed when you have the people over here, the white supremacists of white people shooting you the most?
Yeah,
And also you have the Cliven Bundys and all these people who would take up arms against law
Okay.
enforcement for months at a time, and these people
All right.
don't
Is
get
the
punished.
And the
microphone
reverse to
working
that
now?
argument,
Okay.
sorry, real quick.
We need- I just wanna-
The reverse to that argument is also, if it's more white people, then the black people shouldn't be getting harassed more by the cops.
Right, and
Like,
I got a roll too.
No,
You
I
gotta
didn't
go.
say. I said they were getting harassed at a higher percentage. The point is, the point about the shooting was there's this untrue narrative that is being put out there that you are supporting right now. This
What's
idea
untrue? What is it?
That,
Untrue?
that cops are killing black people at a higher rate than they're killing white people. They're not. They're killing white people at a higher percentage that they're killing black people.
But they're not
And
unarmed white people.
statistical
Though. They're not
evidence
unarmed
proves
white
it.
people. They're not unarmed white people.
They-
Schulz. Also, the FBI
Let
put
me-
out
let me
the FBI.
finish
The
this sentence.
FBI.
Let me just finish and I give it to you. Let me finish. I give it to you.
Let
Let me just finish. I give it to you.
Okay.
They're not only are white people being killed at a higher percentage than
All
black
right.
people by the
Who are
cops.
not unarmed, but go
Microphone?
ahead.
No. Microphone?
Armed black people who the cops had 100% right to shoot because they were armed or they're attacking the cop are
All right. Can I be heard now? Peace, Donnie. Hey, can y'all hear my?
too.
Okay.
They're
Can y'all hear my
not
microphone?
only are white people being killed at a higher percentage than
All
black
right.
people by the
Who are
cops.
not unarmed, but go
okay,
ahead.
my microphone's
No.
good now. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I'm over here giving commentary, and microphone just went out. I got a gaming headset. I like to be hands free, and also it reduces noise. So a regular microphone will pick up all my kids' activities around me, him and his friend. So I got no choice but to use this noise reduction headphone. But man, it switches to different things, different modes, and sometimes I'll be talking, and so I thank you guys for saying no sound. All right, so we're back on track. But a lot of this dude talking points are horrible. I wish like hell I could speak to Andrew Schulz. So the black conservative I spoke to was way worse than this guy, by the way. But Andrew Schulz, like he's more easy to deal with because you can call him out on his BS and have a conversation. Now he will deflect afterwards, and that's okay. And maybe I'll hold him to maybe he needs to concede. But the fact that he'll listen to me cook him and debunk his stats, because these guys, I was saying that the Harvard he was talking about, the Harvard professor, I guarantee you he's talking about Larry Elder. That's why he didn't say his name. He knew Tariq was going to flip out. So he just said Harvard professor. So Andrew Schulz, I don't give a damn if he is Charlemagne's co-host or not. This dude is a white supremacist. Make no mistake. All he did was read from the white supremacist playbook the entire debate. Everything he said, Jared Taylor said, just a little more extreme. But the same thing that Charlie Kirk would say, Louder Crowder, Candace Owens, Larry Elder, Thomas Sowell, he's saying the same thing. Like he, and when you repeat those talking points, you believe black folks are just stupid and deserving of their condition, their current condition. So these talking points come from racist white people, obviously, tethers, and black conservative coons.
Still killed at a lower percentage than white people.
The FBI put out a memo in 2006
You should
stating,
look it up.
stating
Harvard and Washington Post.
The FBI put out a memo stating that white supremacist organizations, they've infiltrated law enforcement. They were warning people of this in 2006.
This has been around for a while, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think that doesn't have any bearing on black people getting killed disproportionately who are unarmed?
So what you do is when you do one of these studies,
That's a
So
no.
no.
That's a
No, and I'll
don't
tell you
think
why.
so?
Because
Okay,
what
there
you do
go.
when you do
That's
these
white
I
studies-
don't know if
supremacy
y'all heard me when I broke down the crack epidemic compared to the I'll do that later. And right now, my headsets don't even feel like. I know y'all can hear me, but I'm not. Y'all can hear me, but I'm not hearing the best I'm supposed to be hearing.
Well, again,
Yeah.
just because I disagree with you can't just say white supremacy. Maybe you should hear what I have to say, and then you can
It's
disagree.
kind of I'm white and I say so though, Schulz. That's the thing though.
No, I'm telling you
And
no.
then you throw out a bunch of.
I'm telling you no, but I'm
Well,
telling you
okay.
specifically why.
We got to wrap this up soon. So let's finish your final point.
So,
Go ahead.
So,
Okay, thank you.
What you do when you do a statistical analysis at that level, when you're one of these like Harvard institutions, is you adjust for all these types of variables, right? You don't just do one police precinct; you do 1,000 police
Okay, so I
precincts.
don't know what they're talking about now. I gotta rewind it, but he's about to kick himself in the foot again. Matter of fact, I might even just do a video just debunking everything he said, and I can confidently call this dude a racist.
For do
That's the thing.
just
Unfortunately, who are unarmed.
than white people, than black people. By the not
unarmed white
Okay,
people.
okay.
White people at a higher percentage that they're killing.
So what I
black
was
people.
saying was earlier, like Tariq Nasheed was before his time. He doesn't have access to the tools we have today at that time 8 years ago. So, but he knows certain things. He knows certain things. So when he says raw numbers, so that's true. So as you can see, white racists, right? Feathers and black conservative coons, they cherry pick when they use raw numbers and per capita data. They pick and choose. When it comes to, so at this point, he's going to use raw numbers. And now raw numbers matter. But when we use raw numbers, when it comes to welfare, he'll say, what about per capita? Right? So they pick and choose when they want to use per capita and when they want to use raw data. Now, I'm going to mention that right after this video. I'm going to go into that a little deeper.
But they're not
And
unarmed white people.
statistical
Though. They're not
evidence
unarmed
proves
white
it.
people. They're not unarmed white people.
They-
Schulz. Also, the FBI put out.
Let me just finish this sentence. Let me just finish and I give it to you. Let me finish. I give it to you. Let me just finish. I give it to you.
Okay.
There, not only are white people being killed at a higher percentage than black people by the
Who are
cops,
not unarmed, but go ahead.
armed black people who the cops had 100% right to shoot because they were armed or they're
Yeah, but even at discretion, like we see so many, the two white boys that made the news on the video, they were armed, they didn't get shot. But you see the little dude, I don't know his name, Tamir Rice, who knows? But so many of them got shot. He didn't have a loaded weapon. He didn't have a weapon at all. He had like a water gun. So you can even see it with the discretion and discernment from police officers when they shoot and don't shoot. When it comes to us, they shoot, even though they can for everybody, but they don't. They use discernment when they shoot and don't shoot. Recently, I watched a dash cam of a police dash cam of a white boy who was armed and he was talking his trash. Drop the gun, drop the gun. He probably 17, 18, and he was walking towards the high school, right? Now, they had all the reason at that time to blow him away. When he was walking to the high school, because you could go in, and he still didn't blow him away. I think he went away in handcuffs. Like he was pointing a gun at him and everything. So again, this is just white supremacy. Let me stop using that word. This is racist talk. Racist talk.
attacking the cop are still killed at a lower percentage than white people.
The FBI put out a
Well,
memo
high
in
school.
2006
You should
stating,
look it up.
stating
Harvard and Washington Post.
The FBI put out a memo stating that white supremacist organizations, they've infiltrated law enforcement. They were warning people of this in 2006.
This has been around for a while, though.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Do you think that doesn't have any bearing on black people getting killed disproportionately who are unarmed?
So what you do is when you do one of these
That's
studies,
a
no,
that's a
no, and I'll
don't
tell you
think
why.
so?
Because
Okay,
what
there
you do
go.
when you do
That's
these
white
studies,
supremacy denial.
well, again, just because I disagree with you, you can't just say white supremacy. Maybe you should hear what I have to say, and then you can
It's
disagree.
kind of I'm white and I say so though, Schulz. That's the thing though.
No, I'm telling you
And
no.
then you throw out a bunch of.
I'm telling you no, but I'm
Well,
telling you
okay.
specifically why.
We got to
Right?
wrap this up soon. So let's finish your final point.
So,
Go ahead.
So, what you do when you do a statistical analysis at that level, when you're one of these like Harvard institutions, is you adjust for all these types of variables, right? You don't just do one police precinct, you do 1,000 police precincts across the country. And when you do that, you get a diverse enough group and a diverse enough information that will offset these variables. I mean, statistical analysis at this level is done to make sure and ensure that you're not going to have these biases infiltrated. Is it 100% accurate? Absolutely not. You'll have maybe.
So there we go through variables. And then when we consider the variables, when it comes to the jail sentencing, unfair sentencing, now the variables doesn't matter. When we talk about the variables, when it comes to denying Black people loans that have the same credit profile, same job history, and things like that, of white folks, they challenge the research. Well, how did they go about this research? You know, that's what the white conservative did to me when I considered the variables, when I looked up some reports. So they pick and choose even with that, because if what he's saying, if he stands by that, then clearly the sentencing project is true, as far as they sentence you based on your race and ethnic background. Black people with the same upbringing, same offense, almost same criminal rap sheet, everything, gets larger sentences than white people with the same offenses, same rap sheet. And like I said, the same credit profile, Black folks are twice as likely to be denied of a bank loan. But they pick and choose, man, when they want to use variables. Sometimes variables are no good, sometimes per capita is no good, and sometimes raw numbers are no good. They pick and choose.
Be a 90% accuracy rate with a standard deviation of, a few percent, right? So within like 2 standard deviations of the mean, you'll be accurate, right?
Translation: Black people get killed by these suspected white supremacist race soldiers, and we got these stats to justify why we do it. That's all you just said.
You're just
Schulz.
being lazy, dude.
That's not lazy.
You're smarter than
What you're
this.
trying to do
That's
is
what
mental.
bothers me,
You're
dude.
trying to do
It
verbal
bothers me
gymnastics,
that you're
Schulz.
that you're smarter than.
That's verbal gymnastics you're
All
trying
I'll
to
say
do.
is
Well,
this.
the variables of the percentage shows that disproportionate numbers
Just
of the
'cause
range.
you don't understand it doesn't mean it's verbal
gymnastics.
To you,
that's
it is.
all it is.
To other people,
what
it's
you
just
said made
watching.
0 sense.
It's because you don't understand.
You think I don't
statistics.
catch what you're saying? See, a lot of Black folks, they hear a white guy say a bunch of numbers and all of these 4-syllable words, and they think this is a deep white man. What you said was completely full of shit. And you're my dude. I'm not saying that to be disrespectful.
I don't think
I
you
know
are.
it's full of shit.
I think you're saying
a lot of folks don't know.
you're
But
just not familiar with it.
the point is,
So, yeah.
according to the FBI, I'm going back to the point. I make it very simple. I like to make it very plain. They've said that white supremacist organizations, they've infiltrated law enforcement. There's books out talking about how they were going to infiltrate law enforcement and target Black people.
Sure.
There's emails and phone records and text records showing that there are white supremacists in these precincts targeting Black people. It comes out almost every other month.
Sure.
Black people are being targeted and harmed because they know that they're not going to be punished if they do so. And not only will they not be punished, these race soldiers are being rewarded for harming Black people. It's just that simple. We can do the verbal gymnastics, but I like to keep things very plain. I like to look at the raw numbers. The raw numbers is that very rarely do white males
very rarely
go to
is not
jail.
a statistic.
Go to jail.
That's not a number.
I'm just making it plain. I'm just making it plain
you're
for the
making
cheap
it
seats.
Bullshit.
I'm making it plain for the cheap seats.
This is how you bullshit it.
Well, the
You give me a
variables of
statistic.
the inconclusive evidence of I'm making it very plain. Show
You
me.
can Google all this stuff.
You can Google. Show
So then
me
give
the
me the
large
statistic.
numbers of
Give
white.
me one number.
Hell, just give me a large
Give me
number.
one
I'm giving
number.
you. Give me a number of large
I
numbers
just
of white
gave you.
people going to jail for killing Black people in law enforcement.
Give me a number, Tariq.
Who are the white people going to jail for killing Black people, especially unarmed Black people?
You're asking for specific
Schulz.
names. That's
Show
not
me.
numbers.
No, give me a name.
Okay?
That's making it very
Data
plain. Show me
is what creates
who
an
are
answer.
so every
You
Black
don't
person
have
killed by a
data
white person is justified.
Because your argument is lazy.
So is every Black person killed by a white
Absolutely
person?
not.
So
And
why
vice
do
versa,
they
it's
not go to
justified.
jail, Schulz?
And
Why
they do.
not? Who?
You're assuming
Who?
that they don't.
Who?
There
Name
are
them,
people
Schulz.
that go to jail
Schulz,
all the time.
Name them.
You're speaking about police officers specifically?
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
specifically cops.
Gotcha.
So I want you to just give me one statistic. You haven't given me one number all day.
You're trying to give it back to me. I'm asking you something. I'll give you
me a number.
Give me a name.
Give me a name
of
to
white
back up
people
what you're saying.
who are police officers going to jail killing unarmed Black people.
I've given you better than one name. I've given you a statistical analysis
Give
across
me
the
a
whole
name.
country.
Let's make it.
All I'm
my
asking from you
education
is
level
one
is kind
number.
of slow. I just need to break
That's
it down.
bullshit. You're a smart dude. I know you're a smart dude.
I dropped out of school.
I know.
Just give me a name.
I don't care about
I'm
school.
good on
I
names.
don't care about school.
I
You're a
didn't do
smart
good at
dude.
math. Just give me a name.
I need a
All
number.
right, we're talking.
All All right.
We're just talking past
Listen,
each
I
other
know,
at this
my
point.
man.
Now,
But
All
Tariq,
right,
no,
I
Tariq
gotta
go.
roll. I gotta roll.
listen, I really appreciate you coming
Yes,
by.
indeed.
I'm being dead serious with it, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I mean this. I'm being dead serious. I've said this a couple times. I think you're incredibly gifted at
Yes, sir.
communicating. I fucking mean that.
Yeah.
I really wish that you put more of an effort in terms of compiling these arguments and getting statistical backups for these arguments and proving them, because dude, I'm not joking. I
proof
mean
is the
dead
raw
serious.
numbers. The proof is the evidence.
I
The
talk
proof
about
is the proof.
Charlemagne like
Right.
this. I think he's an unbelievable communicator. One of the most, probably the most talented person I've ever worked with.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of your ability to communicate, you're up there, dude. I just think you're being lazy with these arguments because you're so good and you're not
Schulz,
competing with anybody.
you
And I
have to
want
get
you
out
to
of white
put the work
supremacy
in.
denial.
What's your final thoughts, Tariq?
Schulz, he has to get out of white supremacy denial. That whole denial of white supremacy, that's very dangerous. Black folks don't need to fall for that. It's bad for white society as well. We shouldn't have a system of
I
white
agree.
supremacy at all.
I agree.
That shit should be alleviated. So you should be one of the people on the forefront calling that shit out when you see it instead
do
of
it.
trying to disprove white supremacy. Let us know who the white supremacists are. That's all I have to say.
All right, I'm going to
All right.
CC you.
Oh, yes.
My man
Yes,
Tariq,
indeed.
thank you, my brother.
Let me I got to get a picture with Schulz.
Yes, please. Well, all of us. All
Yeah,
three
all
of
of
us.
us, yeah.
Listen,
really appreciate you coming, man.
especially.
All right, white supremacists. No, not white supremacists, a racist, because you're not gonna put that burden on me to prove you're just a racist, and you're a racist because you were using racist talking points. Now, I'm gonna go back. This debate was the last time I've seen him. Which one? Andrew Schulz. Yeah. Oh my God, I wish he had a call-in number like Myron Gaines. All right, so I'm glad I debated that black conservative because that gave me a kind of glimpse what Myron Gaines would say when I call in his show. So I'm glad I ain't call in when I was supposed to, because this black conservative was just denying everything I said, and history didn't matter at all. So Myron Gaines likes to say black people, foundational black Americans, ADOS have no excuses to fail. So when I go to mention something historical, right? Not too far, but for reasons to show why we do have reasons to fail. He'll say he'll handicap me, I guarantee you, like the black conservative, and say, hey, you can't bring up history. But that same black conservative, when he wanted to make a point, he brought up some stat that he read from Thomas Sowell book in the 1940s and 50s. So I was like, hey, I thought we can't go to the past. See? All right. So look, let's go to the past in this video. All right. So now I'm going to play a talking point it's a borrowed talking point from the playbook of racist people. And the people who usually borrow this talking point are black conservative coons, white racists, of course, and tethers. Listen, roll the tape.
A wealthy black neighborhood or a wealthy black area in America that has a very high tax bracket, I bet that public school in that area would have all the spoils of a wealthy white school strictly because it's based on a tax bracket, not because it's based on the
So
race.
why are there not more wealthy black neighborhoods with the same tax bracket as white neighborhoods?
So, I mean, clearly there's more wealth.
Uh-oh.
Actually, I can't even say that if there's more wealth. I mean, on a whole, there's more poor white people in America just because.
Oh, so now we want to use raw numbers. You see, I'm telling you, they pick and choose. As a whole, there are more poor whites. Now, if I use that for an argument that benefits me, he'll say, but per capita. So these guys do the per capita, the whole number, the raw numbers. They do it interchangeably when it suits them, when it suits their argument.
There's more white people,
right?
But percentage-wise, there's more wealth in the white community than there is in the black community, and that is because obviously, if we're going to talk about just the people who have been here in America, a legacy of slavery.
So white supremacy, we're going right back to white supremacy again.
But we also have to look at recent immigrants that have.
Okay, so now he ran from the legacy of slavery, which he said was really systemic racism, racist. He ran from that, and now he's going to use the immigrant analogy. So this is what I'm talking about when I said black conservatives, racist, and use the same talking points.
come in from Africa and the West Indies in America who haven't sustained the same legacy of slavery and had incredible success in America. I mean, Nigerians out-earn and out-succeed white males in America, Asian males in America.
Even education-wise, they outperform it.
And not only education. I mean, we're talking about wealth.
Yeah.
Like the amount of money that.
So they use the hyper-selected immigrant class who come over here on work visas, education visas, all type of stuff. These immigrants that he's referring to compare to the American public, white or black. These are the top 5% of their country. So he's comparing their elitists to the average American, white or black. And they do it mainly to show how black folks can do it as well. This is the top 5% of their country. This ain't the average Nigerian. This is their best of the best.
That they're bringing an average household out succeeds everybody. So is that a function of white supremacy that they're doing so well here? How is
Now, you heard that guy. So that is Andrew Schulz who brought it up. All right. So now I'm going to go to the black conservative that I debated. Look what he says.
To run. That's not racist integration. I got to also help push that kid go further. So that means that I can't.
So this is, I'm talking, and then he's going to bring in the hyper-selected immigrant elite class. Watch.
He won the race, but from running, so by their own merit. The group back where they can't say it was too different than something. You agree with that?
Okay, yeah. Well, can you give me an example of how white folks are being pushed and black folks?
So, all right. Okay.
1862.
All right. Right. So remember, I'm trying, he woke up and I just didn't have home said that the home gifted to and we have been worked for it. But at the same time,
Michael. Okay. Wait.
Just one more thing. To that people and deny.
My only question to that is I don't, crying about the past is not going to help black people today. Because again,
I told you. So I can't bring up the past. If I bring up the past, that's called crying. He says this is a black conservative. He might be a tether. I don't know, but maybe a coon.
Homestead Act is not stopping one single black person today from doing achieving anything. So I say you can sit here, keep looking in the past about stuff that you can't change. Nobody can do anything about 1865 or whatever. Nobody alive today can do anything about 1865. You can do something about 2025.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring up
instead of focusing on the Homestead Act and this alleged advantage that white people had, how about focus on what you have today?
The alleged advantage that white folks had. Okay.
I keep living in the past, looking at the past. There's nothing that a black person can do achieve today, and anybody can gain success in America. There's a reason why Indian Americans are people who migrate to America from India have the highest income per capita, not because of the home.
He said Indians, right? Watch this. I'm gonna cook them. See, he went to hyper selection.
So people who migrate to America from India have the highest income per capita, not because of the Homestead Act they got.
Wait, and who is that?
Indian Americans have the highest income per capita in America. These Americans are the people who are Indian descent from India, not Indians as in
okay, yeah.
Not Native Americans. Indian Americans have the highest income per capita in America. Did they get a Homestead Act or because no, they worked for it.
No. No, wait. When you say they worked for, are you saying they came to America and then they tied their bootstraps and became successful working in America, like from ground zero, like blacks had to start, or did they come to America with education and wealth already?
No, both of them come here with nothing. Because what wealth and education is in India.
Okay, so look,
India a wealthy, prosperous nation.
All right, so I set him up perfectly, and I gave him a way out. So I didn't frame it. I gave him a way out. I said, did they come and start from zero like us, like how white folks left us when they so-called became less racist or ended racism? The Civil Rights Act in 1968, or did they come here highly educated and wealth already? And he said, no, they came here, start from zero. They got us from the mud. Okay, watch this. I got them perfect.
Yes. Well, now is it? Hold on. What I meant to say, not yes, of course not. They're a third world country. What I'm saying is the Indians that come to America, brother, they are hyper selected. They are the top 5% of their country. They are well educated, and a lot of them already have wealth that was generated in India. The same goes for Nigerians. The same goes for Chinese people. They are called hyper-selected. Okay, and then they come over and work visas, H-1B.
What about the next Susan? He come in with all that.
Now he focused on one person. So he just said India's. I told you, man, they do the per capita and they do the raw numbers interchangeably. So now he's talking about one person. And I was going to cook him on that, but I think he like deflected and I just left it alone.
I get there's plenty of India, the next Susan. He didn't come here. He came here with the clothes on his back. And none of that still means anything, because just as somebody come here as wealth doesn't mean that you need wealth to be able to produce anything.
Wait, just hold on.
Once again, I don't care. We shouldn't be worrying about what anybody else has. You should be worrying about what we as black people have to do now.
Heard about what that one Indian person had. So now I was going to get him, but I just moved on. It wasn't worth it because I already cooked him with the hyper selection, which he had no rebuttal for. Now, that Indian person, let's say, which I don't believe, but let's say if this dude came over here. Well, first of all, if he had no wealth, then he came over here as an Indian refugee or asylum seeker. So I know he's lying. So he came over here, and we look him up. Most likely, he had some education visa, student visa. But let's say if he didn't, let's say if he came over here poor, then guess what? He was on welfare. He had government assistance. Nobody, unless you're an illegal alien, nobody comes over here legally broke and don't have access and don't access American welfare system. Okay, so but now watch this. So now we heard Andrew Salt say it. We heard the Black conservative coon, suspected Tether say it with me. Now watch Jared Taylor say it with Tariq Nasheed.
White supremacy, because the people in white supremacy still control the resources.
Wait, the Asians have higher per capita income by far. Indian Americans, for example, have a much higher per capita income than white Americans. Chinese, Japanese, as I say, they're much more likely to get into elite schools, and there is nothing stopping. Look at Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is full of Asians who have these great programming jobs. They are extremely successful. Now, if 5% of the population, just let me finish, please.
Okay, so you just said it. One more time.
As I said, have
successful or more successful as people who believe in white supremacy, because the people who believe in white supremacy still control the resources.
Wait, the Asians have higher per capita income by far. Indian Americans, for example, have a much higher per capita income than white Americans. Chinese, Japanese, as I say, they're much more likely to get into elite schools, and there is nothing stopping. Look at Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is full of Asians who have these great programming jobs. They are extremely successful. Now, if 5%.
I told you. So they like to compare the top elites of their country to the average American. This is a racist talking point. It's from the racist handbook. All right. Black conservative coons borrow it, like Thomas Sowell and Larry Elder, Candace Owens. And then you have your suspected racists like Andrew Schulz. Jared Taylor is a racist, confirmed one, and folks like that. Okay, that use the same, and you got Tethers that you see come on my channel. They use the same talking points, and they're all disingenuous. They're all bad faith arguments, because you can't compare a small immigrant group who make up their elite class to the average American. No, you compare average citizens with average citizens, and you compare elites with elites. All right, the average Indian come over here will be selling meth. All right. These guys have no skill, IQ lower than the national, the U.S. National IQ. They're going to come over here and sell meth or be a burden on society, be alcoholics and drunkards. So they love to use their the immigrants, elites, as an example of you can do it. Stop. All right. So that's it on that. And I mean, I'm outside. It got to be, I'm right in this damn sun. All right. So let me see if my boy is at work. if he got work today. I know he's off tomorrow. He said, yeah. All right, so he'll do it tomorrow, American Dream. Hey, chat, do me a favor, just like the video. I'm gonna close this one out. It's just too hot. It's just too hot. I'm right in the sun. It's just too hot. Been here for how long? Hour, 2 hours. But I did finish this recap. So that's a good thing. But thank you guys for supporting. It's just too hot. I'm just in the sun and I'm out. So the Cash App's pinned to the top. Go ahead and handle that if you can. If not, just like the video. Wheezy, Wheezy, Wheezy.